Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of PoliticsNY, Schnepp's Media, with our debate, so you can really get to know the candidates that are coming up in this month's, August primary, August 23rd. Yes, indeed, there is a primary in August in New York, and as candidate Keith Corbett just pointed out to me, in the 234 years of New York statehood, there has never been a primary in August. You can actually start voting on August 13th. You have 10 days to complete that. And so we really urge you to be sure you're voting in the neighborhoods that are involved. It's a primary there have been two primaries, in case you're a little confused, because it is confusing. The first primary was in June. This one is for the state Senate candidates and for the New York Congressional District candidates. And so it's really important that you get out and vote. And of course, a lot of it is caused by the redistricting, which was held up in courts before we even got to this stage. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Congressional District number 4 on Long Island. And I should introduce myself. I'm Jane Hanson, along with Steve Witt. Steve?
Hello.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? It's good to have everybody here this evening. Steve is not only the co-moderator, but he's also our timekeeper. So he's going to keep us honest and making sure we have equal time for everybody, which is a good thing to have, because that's kind of our duty as the journalists in doing this. So before we get to the actual debate, I want to set a couple of ground rules, which is we're going to have a 2-minute opening statement from each of you, from everybody. We are expecting possibly a third candidate to join us, but so far he has not shown up. 2-minute opening statement, then we'll ask questions and a 1-minute answer. And you are also free to respond to what the other candidate has said with a 30-second response to all of that. If we have enough time, we're going to have you ask each other questions, and we'll have a 2-minute closing statement. So that's the way it's operating tonight. So let's talk about Congressional District 4, which happens to be central and western Nassau County. It's being vacated by Kathleen Rice, who is just winding up her 4th term in office. And so our candidates that are with us tonight, the mayor of Melbourne, Keith Corbett, who is running for the office and has been the mayor. How long now, Keith?
Mayor for 4 years, on the board for 10.
All right. So you know local politics very well. And also joining us is Dr. Muzibul Huq, who lives in Elmont and is a surgeon and immigrated to the United States about 15 years ago and feels compelled to run for office as well. We are expecting Carrié Solages to join us. He's he is a county legislator, lives in Lawrence, but so far we haven't seen him. And of course, the other candidate in this Democratic primary is Laura Gillen, and Laura responded that she could not participate this evening. So let us begin with our opening statements. Keith Corbett, take it away. 2 minutes. Tell us why you're running.
Sure. And listen, thank you very much for holding this debate. I think it's important for the residents of the 4th Congressional District and the greater New York community to see who's running and why they're running. So I do appreciate you, Jane, and Steve for taking the time, and Schnepp's Media for putting it together. Listen, I truly believe that we are now in one of the most important elections of our lifetime. And I think this election, I think the next presidential and the midterm after that, those 3 are going to dictate policy in this country for the next 40 years. I'm a centrist Democrat. I'm the mayor of the village of Malvern. I'm the Lord Chair of the Nassau County Democratic Committee. I represent 19 members of Congress, 4 United States senators, and I've counseled every Democratic governor of the past 4. I understand politics, but it's about time we send someone down there who knows how to navigate Washington and can bring significant resources back to this district. This district lacks in the bottom third of resources brought back by their congressional representative. That needs to change. The citizens in this country are getting hurt. We have inflation. We have gas prices. We're all being priced out of communities. We need someone who understands the issues and can actually implement the change. All Democrats are going to say the same thing, but it's about time we send someone like myself there who could change it. Listen, the message has been resonating. People are fed up with Washington, the partisanship, the rancor, no compromise. It became a bad word. And the sad part is we have a generation of, I call them kids, anyone under the age of 30, who's never seen democracy work. They don't remember a Tip O'Neill. They didn't even see a Bob Dole come in and cut a deal with President Clinton. And the fact is that's not a bad thing. When two parties disagree and they meet in the middle, it provides for the citizens of this country. And right now, we don't need more screamers and yellers going to Washington. We need people on day one who know the players, who understand the politics and can navigate that. Play the political game for us, for my family, for your family. Bring back resources to this district that will make this district thrive despite the recession we are heading into. Because it's about time we start providing what we're supposed to provide. It's about time the true Democratic Party stands up, unites, and keeps this seat blue. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Keith. And now let's go to Dr. Huq. Tell us.
You do know, and Jane forgot to say, when it's around time, I'll give a little wave. So, like, not to cut you off, but
I caught your wave, Steve. I see where you're going.
You caught it, but I felt we needed to say that.
He's perfected the royal wave.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Steve. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Dr. Huq, tell us why you're running.
Oh, hi, Jane Hanson and Stephen Witt and Mr. Keith Corbett. Thank you all for attending this session. And also my thanks to SNAPS for giving us this opportunity to put across our program and how we are running. The question is that I feel it is a responsibility of people with knowledge and education and expertise to come up and take responsibility in the public offices, do their best for the community. So that's what made me take a decision that I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to run for this office here and work for the community that I live in. You know, I'm an immigrant from coming originally from Bangladesh. I'm a Muslim by religion, and so I have two main group of people that I can very well talk about and fight for them, as well as the fight for the rest of the community. This is a nation of immigrants, so I have a knowledge of working in the third world countries where I'm born and raised, educated. And I lived a good part of my life in the United Kingdom, and where I was involved with the political system over there. I was an activist in the Labour Party as well. I see Stephen is already raising his hand. So is my time already over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It is indeed.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So let's start with a couple of questions. What I see is that you, Keith, say that you would like, which is may not be certainly not a progressive Democratic position, but you want more funding for police and social and mental health services. So talk to us about that.
Sure. As the mayor of Malvern, I'm the only candidate in this race, any side of the aisle, even when you get to the general, who's actually administered a police department. I'm the police commissioner of the Malvern Police Department. We are the safest village in Nassau County. We're ranked in the top 10 safest villages in the state every year, top 25 in the country. Nassau County, this district has 9 police departments if you include the county of Nassau. Those departments, except for Malvern, are not trained in all facets. 79% of the calls that come in to any one of those 9 departments are for mental aided calls. The Malvern PD is one of the few police departments who actually trains our officers in mental health. So the vast majority of those who are in need of services for mental health, they're receiving an officer who's not been trained in mental health. Why? No one's been able to figure out the budget and how to provide those services without breaking the budget. I did. I negotiated.
How did you do that?
I'm going to give you the answer. I negotiated 2 PBA agreements with the Malvern PDA. We cut time on the hours they actually get for overtime when they are trained. It turns out they'd rather be better trained and stay active. And we cut down on the overtime. What used to happen is you'd get 48 hours of overtime for 4 hours of training. Now, that ain't good for the taxpayer. We're able to cut down
Say that again. You got 48 hours of overtime for 4 hours of training?
Got it, because you would always go for training on a day that you were going to be on schedule. So guess what? You're now off schedule, double time, and you move it over. So what do? If you understand how it works and you have a relationship with the PBA and the police, you can get to a medium to where they still get overtime for the training, but it's not on the backs of the residents. Listen, police are on the front lines right now. Police are the ones keeping us safe. There are bad apples that have to be addressed. We have a whole plan in Malvern where we don't have any of those issues. We have a very community-oriented police department. The fact of the matter is we need to provide significant federal resources to these 9 departments so that they can continue to have full training and protect and serve the residents adequately. You got to be able to manage the budget, and you got to be able to understand the issues. And by understanding the issue, having relationships with the PBAs, and knowing where to go, we were able to accomplish that in Malvern. And there's no reason why that can't be accomplished in the 9 other police departments in this county. Police are our number one priority. Public safety is the first priority of government. If you're not keeping citizens safe, you're not opening businesses, you're not keeping kids safe in school, families aren't happy where they're living. You need to keep safe. And that's not a Democrat or Republican issue. That's just a governing issue. I see you, Steve. Thank you.
Dr. Huq, how do you feel about more funding for police?
Well, I believe this is relevant, very much relevant. Defund the police. Police is the wrong thing to to come up with, and that made a big tax a loss for the Democrats in the last election. That's what my assessment is. And even though our president tried to overcome that difficulty by saying clearly that we are not going to defund the police. We are going to add funding to the police. What we need more training. We need more mental health work to go with it, and more investment in that rather than cut down the prices. So no, I'm not for defunding. I'm for more funding in the police, as well as more training and more community involvement with the policing. Right, there should be community polices, and police need more training. And a lot of people are leaving police department now. If you look at NYPD, they have people that are leaving, and also there are regulations that make the policing more difficult. So we need to address those issues. Right, let police take care of the people, those who are on the wrong side of the laws and all that.
Mm-hmm. I got it.
And let the judges take the decision, not tie their hands by the elected representatives. So what we have in Albany is not the right move now, right? That is making the police life very difficult, and the criminals have an upper hand already.
Thank you very much.
Jane, can I just say one thing? I don't know anyone. You said it's a Democrat or Republican issue. It's a governing issue. And I don't know anyone in the 4th Congressional District who doesn't want to have public safety, who doesn't want to be safe to open their business, make sure their kids are safe in school, make sure their communities are safe. Nassau County is still one of the safest counties in the country. Malvern's the safest in that county. I mean, we need to ensure that our citizens, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Independents, or conservatives, everyone deserves to remain safe. That's the point of government. And that's what I'm going to ensure we continue to do when I get to Washington.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about school safety, because you just brought up you say that Nassau County is one of the safest places in the New York metropolitan area and in the country. What are your thoughts, both of you, on how to keep kids safe in school? Because that's
Sure.
at the top of mind of kids, parents, when they put their kids on the bus in the morning or drop them off.
Yeah, it should be, just as it is something I think about every day when I drop my kids off, whether it's camp during the summer or school during the year. But you know what? In Malvern, we have a great relationship with the school district. 350 cameras directly go right into my police department that I'm the commissioner of, then the mayor of, that I oversee. Every facet of every hallway.
Question: 350 cameras that are what are the schools?
The school district gives my police department. Remember, we're in Nassau County here. I know you guys are from the city. A lot of bureaucracy out here. Anyone who tells you Republicans like small government, they haven't seen Nassau County. They built a lot of bureaucracy out here. The fact of the matter is the school district's a separate board from my village. I'm the mayor of my village. I have a police department. We're completely autonomous. We have fire and safety and all that. But I can't just go in and take over the school district. The school district, we have a great relationship with them. And my police department, through their wonderful work, has a great relationship with them. They give us access to their camera system. There are 350 plus cameras throughout the district, all 6 buildings. We can see the hallways, the classrooms, the doors. Why is that important? Our police are there routinely. There's barely any issues in the school district. They completely be locked down. Drills are done. Again, you have to have the relationships with the individuals, with those in power, so that you can implementate these ideas. And what we've done is we've done that here. Malvern's one of the safest schools in the state. And it's because our police department works very hard with the members of the board of the school district, which change when there's new elections, to continue to ensure that children are safe. There should be more federal funding for other school districts like Malvern across the entire 4th district to have cameras, to have auto locks that get directly pushed into their local police department if they have one. We've done it in Malvern. It could be expanded across the 4th congressional district, and it does work.
Thank you.
Dr. Huq, how do you
All
feel
right.
about that?
My thought is the gun control, the NRA is where the problem lies. And the problem is not limited to one particular area or one city or town or one kind of district in here. So the nation as a whole, from Connecticut to Texas to you name it, from California to Washington, everywhere we have that problem of violence, gun violence, right? Mass shooting and all kinds of, killings and going on everywhere. You look at what the number in the cities is going on. So we have to address the core issues, how we stop trafficking of the guns, the red flag laws, all the other issues, right? Just not one. If it is Melbourne is safe, that doesn't mean the whole country, whole county or whole state or whole country is safe. We need policies that can tackle at the root level, not at the leaf level. We don't want to trim the leaves and leave the root seated and thriving. The gun industry, the NRAs, and the trafficking all over the place. So you have to address that, and putting more arms in the school, making more armed men at the gate isn't going to solve the problem. Right?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question real quick, Jane, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
All the pundits, a lot of people are believing that the Republicans are going to take control of the House. And if that happens and you get elected, how are your plans to work across the aisle?
Yeah.
What's your plans to work?
Yeah, listen, Steve, I'll be very clear. I'm the only candidate in this race who wins the general election. I don't care what the numbers and the pundits tell you. I'm the Democratic mayor of the most Republican village in the district. 78% of my residents are Republican. They elected me mayor. Why? I'm a centrist Democrat. I came out of the womb a Democrat. I'll go into the ground a Democrat. But we got to get back to having normal policies that are true Democratic policies. And to answer your question, it's very simple. There will be a red wave in November. And this seat could go red if the right candidate's not running. I will win this seat. We will keep it blue, protect a woman's right to choose. We will ensure that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act gets passed. More importantly, we will ensure there's funding for all these departments so that our residents can remain safe and their businesses can thrive and their families can be healthy and their families can remain secure. The fact of the matter is you need individuals who know how to navigate it. And I'll give you an example. Reynolds Channel. For those in the city, Reynolds Channel is a waterway between Long Beach and Oceanside. 1 million gallons of sewage was being dumped in it daily for the past 50 years. Republican county legislature, Democratic state legislature, Democratic city of Long Beach. And then we also had a town that we had to deal with. 4 attorneys tried to navigate it. I was able to accomplish it. Now, how did I get a Republican legislature to agree with a Democratic city? Again, if you don't have the relationships and you don't understand the individuals, you can't accomplish that. I got the DEC to get off their consent orders. I got the city of Long Beach to get funded so that sewage could be treated in a different facility. There's no longer 1 million gallons of sewage going into Reynolds Channel. I was able to navigate the state, the federal, the city, and county politics to ensure that the residents get protected. Again, relationships, resources, understanding how to implement change. Every Democrat will tell you what they want to do. They have no idea how to do it. I can tell you real solutions that will work. There's low-hanging fruit here. Within 18 months, we can see a lot of revenue coming into the 4th Congressional District from Washington, and I plan on taking every ounce of it that I can for the residents of this district.
Thank you.
Well, if I get to say something, my first comment about Keith Corbett is that is the alarming comment that he's making the entire country go red. I beg to differ with that. My feelings is, yes, the market price is high. There's a inflation going on. the prices of everything, starting from the gas to the baby milk, baby food, and everything is high. That's fine. That's not fine. I mean, that's true, but that is coming down, and the job situation, the unemployment rate is way down, and the economy is stronger, and all the other difficult issues that are the country is facing is because of not the fault of the current sitting government. It is the fault of all different kinds of issues. So my guess is that panic is over exaggerated, overstated. It's not going to go right. I'm quite optimistic that the current state of the congressional control is going to stay. We have to work for it. It's not going to just be automatic and that you are going to get it. Yeah.
If it did change, if it did, and
Yeah.
you're now in the minority in Congress, how are you going to work? Are you going to be adversarial, or are you going to try to work with the Republicans?
We are going to try work with the Republicans, right? On this point, I agree with what Corbett was saying, that we have to be, listening and working together. There's a reconciliation that we need. We need many of the time we need a middle of the road. I'm a middle of the road Democrat. I'm not one that is going to say, well, defund the police and do everything right away and forget about others and do everything by yourself and come up with an executive order every few days. No, that's not how it's going to work. We need consensus. We need a middle of the ground, a middle of the road. That's what is going to work for this country, for this community, starting from. Yes.
Thank you.
So we've got a question coming in from a viewer that says, if you're saying it's safe already or one of the safest, then why do we need more funding for police? So what would you say to that, Mr. Corbett?
Sure, absolutely. Listen, I think Dr. Huq kind of hinted at it earlier. You have bail reform laws that didn't actually address the issue they were supposed to address. Crime is on the rise nationwide. Crime is on the rise in Nassau County as well. We were the safest county last year. Crime's been upticking every day. Dr. Huq brought up illegal guns. 6,256 illegal guns have gone through in the last week in Nassau County. No one else in this race has a plan to actually address that. I do. 9 police departments. None of them have anyone except the county dedicated to illegal guns. Take an officer from each. Overtime gets paid by federal funding. Take the data from the DEA and let the local officers use that data to crack down on illegal guns coming through the county. The fact of the matter is we're safe now. That doesn't mean we're going to stay safe for the next year or year after that. I think everyone watches the news every night and reads the papers every day, and they see exactly what's going on just 10 minutes from my house in the borough of Queens, New York City. Guns are running rampant. And if anyone thinks that's not happening in Nassau County, they're not getting the real facts. Thousands of illegal guns on a daily basis trafficking through from 3 cities in the South. They can be pipelined and done if we put the resources there to ensure that our kids still remain safe.
So I want you to hold that thought, because we finally have been able to get
Carrié, how are you?
Carrié Solages here, who is the third candidate that we've been expecting. I apologize for the difficulty in getting you in, but we've been trying. I've been frantically on my phone listening to both Dr. Huq and Keith Corbett speaking as I'm trying to make sure you get on. But so County Legislator Carrié Solages, you've been listening to the conversation for a few minutes. I know you have, because I saw that you raised your hand and I couldn't get you in at that point. So talk to us a little bit about this conversation we've been having right now, which is basically about guns, gun control, police funding, safety. Where do you stand on that?
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. This is Carrié Solages, legislator for 3rd District, serving my district with honor for 10 years. And, it's a very important issue that we must address. There's an increase in crime. There is increased gun violence. We have to do everything we can to impose more gun control to keep our communities safe and our children safe and our homes safe and our schools safe. I believe that 18-year-olds should not be allowed to purchase firearms, as well as, assault weapons. We need to have more oversight upon all departments. As a federal congressperson, we're going to use that position, that office, to have more oversight over these important federal offices that work closely with the local jurisdictions. We need more funding. I was not a fan of defunding the police. I worked against that during that time. I have many resolutions and increases in budgets for the police department, which I'm very proud of. Although we need more accountability and oversight and transparency, we still have to give our police department, our police officers, like my father, who served as a New York City police officer, the resources they need to do the very difficult job that they have. At the same time, we have to take a balanced approach where we're allowing the relationship between the community and police to allow there to be a synthesis, a cooperation, so that children and the community are informing the police as to what the issues are. There's open dialogue. It's very important. We're all in this together. We all have to work together to make our communities safer. It's not just responsibility of the police, but also our schools and our families. And we need a revival. We need more federal dollars coming back to New York. For every dollar we spend, we're only getting 90 cents back. So we're leaving $26 billion on the table. As a legislator, I fought for more funding for my community. Despite me being in the political minority, I was able to get more funding for many resources, many activities, many programs in my community. I'm the only district, we're the only district that has 2 police activity league programs. That was made possible because I was able to work with our police commissioner and my colleagues in government to get that done. So it's going to take all hands on deck to make sure that we can solve this very important crisis. Thank you for that question.
So in case you can't see him, Steve Witt, who is here as my co-moderator this evening, he's keeping the time. So when he waves, that means that's the magic wave. It means you need to
Wrap it up.
wrap it up.
I'm lucky to get up. Now I see him. Okay, great.
Okay. So bottom line, what I'm hearing from all 3 of you is that you all believe that police should not be defunded, and that one of the key issues that's going on in this race is to continue to protect the safety of the people of the 4th District of Nassau County, and of course, people everywhere. We talked a bit about school safety before you got on, Carrie, so I'd like to give you a second to be able to talk about what you would do about making sure kids are safe in schools.
Thank you very much. Yes, we in Nassau County, unlike New York City, we do not have school resource officers. We need a more of a presence. We do not want to see what occurred in other states, such as in Uvalde, Texas, or other places. 4th of July, there was another gun incident, and the reporter asked someone, "Could you believe that this could happen in your community?" And the person said, "No, I can't believe." But honestly, at this point, one should not be surprised. It's happening every day, and we need to have more than thoughts and prayers. We have to provide more funding to our schools, not just for important educational purposes, universal pre-K, but also for the infrastructure in our schools. I recently went to a school in Malvern, and I thought to myself, wow, are these doors safe? God forbid there is a school shooter on the loose in the hallway. What safety measures do each individual classroom have to protect our children? So we need to make sure that our schools are constructed and designed in a way in which is as safe as possible. I'm very fortunate that we have a great relationship with the Nassau County Police Department, and as a county legislator, I've passed the budget to provide them more resources so that they could be every school in our district has access to our police department, a live feed and direct communication. God forbid anything were to happen. But it's also increasing funding for our police department so that we have more community policing, so that the police know what's going on in the community and the community have an open dialogue with the police. So I think it's very important that we protect our schools, that we have more funding so that these schools are very safe. Thank you.
What school were you in Malvern, Carrié?
It was the same school where they had the debate that you were not present. By the Malvern Lynbrook Democratic East Rockaway Democratic Club, right there in Malvern.
Which school though?
I do not recall the name of the school, but it's right in the middle. It's very present. It's the main high school there.
Okay. Most of the doors are auto locked with the cameras, but I understand.
I don't believe you were there that night.
So I have a question. There's been reports of President Biden and the Immigration Department flying asylum seekers to New York. And I think some of them are actually coming into Long Island now. And I'm wondering if elected in Congress, immigration remains a problem that needs to be fixed. So it's a 2-part question. First of all, what are your plans and how would you harbor asylum seekers coming from Texas right now that are being flown into New York? And the second thing is, as a Congress member, what would you advocate in for immigration? Would you confront DACA and Dreamers or the border or both together, or would you unlock the two issues? And we would start with Dr. Huq.
Well, Stephen, my position as on immigration is simple. We need to reform the immigration. There's 10, 11 million people waiting in and they taking advantage, shelter of the DACA. The DACA has to be, ratified, and we are waiting to see that these people are, given a path to citizenship. And the question of the southern border is, border, we need the border. Of course, we need the border. And there should be a proper way of people, how they come from the south and how they can work and then how they can return home. And people with valid papers, they should not be deterred to do that. And our police, our border protection, our immigration department, they have a tough job that they're doing. But at the same time, we have the gang people tunneling the people underneath. And so we have to be careful about all these things. The question is, yes, we have to make immigration, asylum seekers rationally. We'll have to deal with them rationally. We cannot let them die in the caravans or in the lorry, in the trucks, in dozens. And so, right from where people are, coming towards this direction, we have to tackle with those countries as well. You have to work with Mexico and all the other southern states that they don't let the people flooding our southern border like this.
I just want really quick, legislatively, would you interlock the immigration problem at the border with DACA? Because there hasn't been any immigration passed in Congress since the Reagan administration.
Right.
And I think, I'd like to know how you would legislate that between.
I will keep it separate. I will not lock it with the border.
Okay. And Mr. Corbett.
Sure. Listen, I think what we have here is an immigration policy and an immigration program that is broken, that needs to be fixed. I think Obama had it the right way with the Dreamers, with the act, with the resolutions, the executive orders. He was allowing paths to citizenship for all those in need. I represented Obama. He had a birther case brought by Trump. I was his attorney. We defended President Obama. Those same racist tactics that were used against President Obama in the lawsuit were also used when Trump became president. Kids in cages, being locked up at the border, being sent home. That's not American. That's not democracy. That's what my aunts, my uncles, and my siblings have all fought for in wars overseas for.
As a mayor, have you seen any asylum people coming in recently?
We've had asylums coming in, not into Malvern. Hempsted Village, I know, who I represent, the largest village in the state of New York. It'd be probably the fourth largest city if it was a city. Some have been in there, Freeport and other areas. What I will say is this: we need to go back to the Obama era policies. We need to ensure there's a path to citizenship. We need to ensure that immigration is actually tackled once again. But again, you need to have policies and ideas of how to tackle it. How do you tackle it? You go right back to what Obama did originally. You go right through the Rules Committee of the United States Congress. You try and do a parliamentary procedure so that things can actually make it to the floor and make them have to vote on it. But what I'm saying to you here is, one thing I do believe the Biden administration should do better is they should be in touch with local officials on the ground, whether it's mayors, legislators, and letting them know who, when, where. From a public safety standpoint, I think that is necessary. What happens in New York State is they give the information to the state of New York, and the mayors like me have to go and, talk to the state and get that information. And by the time you figure it out, there's policies already in place. The fact of the matter is, I do agree with the asylum seekers being given safe harbor in this country. I think they deserve it. I think there has to be better communication from the federal to the state level to the local level. And it's one of the biggest initiatives that I will focus on in Congress, because that is low-hanging fruit. That federal money coming into a state, that information gets dispersed to the local officials as well, not just the state.
Thank you. Mr. Solages.
Thank you very much. Our immigration system is broken, and immigration law is about one's time and place in entering this great country. this country in which people will risk life and limb just to get here. And I am a product of immigrants. My parents came here in the 70s from Haiti, and they made the American dream possible for their children. And I'm very thankful to them. And our system is broken. We should not interlock those two different groups that you just mentioned. Those who have, if we can create a pathway to citizenship for those individuals that we could show that they've paid taxes, they've remained out of crime, they've contributed to society, they've had positive contributions, that they have other relationships and other ties here. We should create that pathway for them. We don't want to create a subculture of individuals who don't want to participate in our society. We want individuals to gain access, gain identification. We live in a country in which you need ID just to get ID. I'm the only county legislator that only elected official that supported driver's licenses for non-documented persons. And I say non-documented. I don't like to say illegal alien, because there's nothing illegal or alien about any human being. We have to allow, again, a pathway. Each time TPS, temporary protected status for Haitian nationals or El Salvadoran nationals was in threat, in threat of being continued or extended, I advocated as a county legislator, despite that not having the jurisdiction, but I was using my ability as a leader to speak up for what is right. And we advocate for it to be extended. I'm very glad that has been extended. But now we're in a position where that they should deserve a pathway to citizenship, in addition to those who have TPS, especially our dreamers.
Just legislatively, to get something done because like I said, there hasn't been any. Even though President Obama, with all due respect, it is a congressional thing that needs to be done. There needs to be, so
That's
would
right.
you interlock the border with the people that are already here? Because it seems like that's one of the roadblocks to getting some immigration legislation passed. Or would you treat them separately? Like what we do on the border is separate than the people that are here? Or would you say we have to do it all together?
No, I would treat it separately, please.
Thank you.
And just remember, Obama, you're right. There was no immigration through Congress. He used executive action and executive authority. But the policies he put in place lay out a good framework for how we can fix the immigration issue in this country. And there were issues there that I know the Republicans gutted that could have been even strongly protected, could have been stronger for the citizens of this country. But the fact of the matter is the policy is there. And it's incumbent upon us to make sure that policy becomes law. And that's one of the first initiatives that I'll be working on heavily when I get to Washington.
So there's a lot of speculation that in this midterm election, the Republicans may very well take over the House again. What happens to all of these plans that you have, and how do you collaborate to be able to make something like this work?
Well, lucky for me, I don't just, I represent many of the Democratic legislators that are already down there and will still be there. And I've also represented some of the Republican legislators. I'm probably the only one in this race who's drafted a portion of a bill that's sitting in a Republican legislator's desk for Build Back Better, believe it or not, out of New Jersey. I have relationships with both sides of the aisle down there. And if we're committed to getting the work done and bringing the resources back here, which is the job of a congressman or congresswoman, then we get down there and we get it done. The fact of the matter is I've always reached across the aisle. Again, Democratic mayor of a Republican village, Democratic law chair, and still have the capacity to get things done for our citizens. And that's what they want. They want a representative, forget about party, who goes down and provides and brings back the resources for them. And that's exactly what I plan on doing.
Thank you.
Barry, I could hear you.
Jane, I could just add it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just one comment. I happen to have a committee overlooking my campaign, and one of the chairmen there, one of the conveners there, actually, I should say, is a Republican. He's a friend of mine. He's a dentist. He's a dental surgeon, a retired dental surgeon here. He's recently retired, but he is a registered Republican. So, and when he said, I proposed to him that you become the convener of my campaign committee, and he says, well, I'm a Republican, and everyone else has said, no, we want you to be with us and we can work together. And it's not all the question of is the Democrat or Republican, it's the question of the right policy. So if you think he's the right choice, that Dr. Huq is the one you like, and then why you decline? And then he said, okay, if you all agree, I take over. So he is now my convener is a Republican, right? Dr. Wadud Bunya Dr. Wazir, I should say his name, and he's my convener in the fundraising committee. Yes, thank you.
I'm very proud of my record as a Nassau County legislator for 10 years, despite being in the political minority the entire time. The Democrats never got their act straight in Nassau County, and as a result, we never were able to be in the majority in the past 10 years. And despite that, I never allowed that to be an excuse in getting an excuse from getting things done for my community. Despite that, I was able to get more funding again from more community programs than other legislators in the majority. I've learned to work with a Republican majority. In the heat of the Black Lives Matter summer, I proposed a bill in which it would require the county to provide you a copy of your deed for free if there was a racial covenant on here on the deed. As you know, in Nassau County and Levittown, the government would not insure properties if they were transferred to Blacks and Jewish people. And so I wanted to show that there is a correlation between these same areas because many constituents came forward to me, showing me a copy of their deed with such language. And although the bill was amended, my colleague, Legislator Rhodes, proposed a bill that allowed an individual to get a copy of that deed and have that language erased from the deed. We have to recognize our past in order to do better with our future. So I've been able to work for 10 years with the Republican majority and getting more funding for our parks. The parks in my district, all the parks are in wonderful condition. All the county roads in my district have been repaved. Safety measures in front of schools and senior citizen homes, things that other legislators in my majority or minority have not been able to do. Because I've been able to go to Mineola and come back with more funding for my district, and that it's a job of a congressperson to bring home the bacon.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Corbett, there's a question here about you acting as an attorney and all of the work you do. Would you give that up if you were to be elected?
Yes. Matter of fact, unfortunately, you can't have outside income when in Congress, except on a very small scale. I'm a partner at a law firm. I'm also the law chair of the Democratic Party here in Nassau County. I would have to give both up to go represent the citizens, but I think it's necessary. Like I said earlier when we started, this is one of the most important elections of our lifetime. Together with the next presidential, next midterm, will dictate policy for 40 years. I have two very young children, and they need to see democracy work, because democracy is the path. And without us actually getting down there and showing them how it's supposed to work, we're going to lose our way. And the dream that is this country may come to a colossal end. And I'm not going to let that happen on my watch. And that's why we're going down there. So I will give it all up to go represent the residents of this district and to fight for them every day to make sure they get the resources they need, because we need it now more than ever.
So let's talk a little bit about
Wait one minute though. Dr. Huq, would you give up your job and Mr. Solages?
Yes, Mr. Stephen, I already have given up my job. I was teaching in a medical assistant program in Queens. Starting the January 1st of this year, I'm out of job. I gave up my job, and I'm working full time now as a candidate, and I intend to do so. I believe I'm already basically a retired general surgeon, and I'm from medical profession, as you know, as has already been said. And I can complement the amount of the number of physicians and the medical professionals in the Congress. Our Congress is well representing our community, our nation as a whole, in very many ways. Right? We need more now running under the ravage of the pandemic that is we are on, right? COVID-19 is the worst in the world. We are doing the worst in the world. Now, as a professional, as a medical man, I could supplement something there, and my experience as working in third world countries with the racial harmonies, I worked in.
Right, you're asking my question. Just I want to move on, Doctor. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, I also am an attorney, and I would give up this practice. I also serve on the board of the EOC, and I would also give that up for no compensation. I believe that sacrifice is giving us something that's great for something that's greater. I think that was Theodore Roosevelt who said that. Congress is and to be any elected official, it's a noble profession, and we have to bring back dignity to these professions and stop from this hyper politicized arena that we see. and bring back decency. And so I would give up, my practice just to serve my greater Nassau County community as a Congress member.
Okay. I want to get to the subject of climate control. And the reason I want to talk about it is because there have been some reports released that say instead of 100-year storms, which of course Sandy was, we now have a 100-year storm that can happen possibly every year, or at least every 5 years, which means it's a problem because we can't afford to have another storm like Sandy hit us. The devastation that it caused, the expense, and what it did to residents and homes and along the shore of Nassau County, which is in your district, I'm assuming, correct?
Oh, yes, it is a long shoreline in the 4th Congressional District from Long Beach all the way out through Wantagh.
Right. So bottom line.
Jones Beach.
Exactly.
You've been to Jones Beach, Jane?
I certainly have. And I love going to that Coliseum.
Slap dab right in the middle of our district.
Stage.
Actually, the shoreline starts from Atlantic Beach, not Long Beach.
Yeah, but it's still, it's a long shoreline and frankly, one of the most beautiful shorelines we have.
It is. Jane, as the commissioner, I'm a commissioner of Long Island State Parks appointed by the governor. And one of the things we've done is improve that shoreline with Army Corps of Engineer reports and also access those parks to make them more available to everyone on the South Shore. But you're absolutely correct. We need to protect against those storms that are coming much more regular.
Okay.
And I think
I was a legislator during Storm Sandy. I'm sorry, Jane.
No. I just want from each of you less than a minute of what your plan would be to help. Okay.
Right.
So
the issue is this.
Jane.
Global warming does exist. Our loyal opposition on the Republican side likes to deny it. But even if you don't want to talk about global warming, they can't deny that the earth is heating up. The issue is we're not investing any type of money and a significant reality in infrastructure on the South Shore of Long Island to ensure that when those storms do come, we are preventing and stopping people from losing their homes, property damage, and lives. Fact of the matter is, I've been endorsed by Mayor Robert Kennedy, the mayor of Freeport. He has an amazing idea that I plan on championing when I get to Washington about actually putting in floodgates. Freeport, as you know, has canals that come up off the Reynolds Channel we spoke about earlier, Jane. Those floodgates that are used in the Netherlands, if they were in place when Superstorm Sandy hit, it would have prevented $8 billion in insurance claims. $8 billion. They cost $800 million to build. Most of the study's already been completed. We need to start thinking about resiliency in an environmental, sustainable way so that we can protect against the next storm. So even if my Republican colleagues want to keep saying it don't exist, that's great. But we do see the earth heating up, and we have to start putting in measures and funding protection of our coastline. We have one of the most beautiful coastlines, as you duly noted, Jane, in the country, and we need to protect that coastline to keep this community safe.
okay.
I'm the only candidate here.
If I can get into this question for a second, I come from Bangladesh originally. That's a country lower than the sea line, sea level.
Mhm.
So is New York, right? New York, Manhattan is below the sea level.
Mhm.
So here is the question, Keith said about Norway, and the question is, what do we do short term and what do we do long term, right? Climate accord is what you need to continue with internationally, right? Not like Donald Trump. And the day you become president, the next day your agenda says, get out of the climate deal. Now, that's not what you need to do. You need to take it for granted that we are the climate is heating up and the sea surface is rising and the water level is rising. And I, as an individual immigrating from Bangladesh, I feel that every season. And when monsoon comes, when we are flooded, we are devastated. And look at the California, when the fire burns there half the state. And then what happens? This is because climate. This is because the warming up. And you have to accept that as the reality and do something in a short term as well as in a long term.
Thank
Do
you.
it locally, do it statewide, do it internationally, and make the planet a little safer for the future generation.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much for that, Carrie.
Thank you very much, Jane. I served as a legislator during Superstorm Sandy. I remember going door to door with a blowhorn, helping people get the electricity turned back on. I live currently in Lawrence. I'm the one candidate that lives closest to the South Shore, very concerned about flooding. We need to increase funding for resiliency plans so that we could use the information from these plans and also plans from the Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that we can protect our South Shore. It's very important. I have a very strong environmental record in which I have received funding to help improve the water quality in my community. As a county legislator, we help connect the Bay Park to Cedar Creek Park, thereby allowing the sewage to go into the ocean. And as a result, our western bays are cleaner. Environmental activists like Adrian Esposito have applauded what we've done in the legislature. So protecting our South Shore, our waters, the water quality. Also, New York City, there's currently a plan in place for us to purchase water from New York City because they have an excess of over 10 billion gallons of water. This is very important. We can't talk about environment without talking about environmental racism. Many communities, the Black and brown communities all throughout Nassau County are exposed to, toxic fumes from buses. I champion the UBS Arena and made sure that they have electrical buses there as required. Thank you.
All righty. So final statements. Let's start with you, Dr. Huq. 1 minute.
Yes, I feel the importance of, going forward and working with the communities of color that's why my flyer is in all different languages. The latest flyer that I have come up with is on saying recognizing all different religion, all different languages that live in this area here. So we want a community of understanding and community of diversity, right? And that yes, you need some statistical details, but maybe you may not have the statistical details if you're not exposed to a particular department or particular kind of technology. But you have to have that temperament that when it comes to decision making, you can take the right decision. You can work with the people, have difference of opinion, and put them together and make the community safer, make the country, the world safer a little bit, right? We want to understand each other a little better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huq. Gary?
I'm the hardest working legislator here at Nassau County. I've gotten so many great things from my community. I'm looking forward to producing many more results. We need to elect an effective leader, someone who has consistently produced results for their community, which is why every 2 years, many people, some 75 to 80% of people in my district vote for me. I looking forward to, universal pre-K for our schools, for our children, helping to advocate for an increase in wages. I, along with my sister, Carrié Solages, championed the increase in the minimum wage. We live here in Nassau County where we have suburban poverty. People are living in poverty. And even though they may have a Lexus or a Mercedes in the driveway, their children in their school are going to school and asking other people for lunch money. If you don't have over $125,000 in Nassau County, you're living below the poverty level. We have to increase state funding to our schools so that parents who work hard can still afford to have children to go to SUNY for free. Right now, the current level is just too low. We have to address our SALT property taxes and repeal the cap on them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Keith?
Sure. I find it quite troubling that Laura Gillen didn't take the opportunity to speak to the citizens of the district tonight. I'm not surprised. No one's seen her in the better part of 4 weeks. I think she's hiding in her basement. She's refusing to debate any of us. And I think she should come out and do so. We don't need prom kings and prom queens and peacocks going to Washington and saying the same old speak and giving us no results. We need people who understand how to navigate a partisan divide and bring back resources for this district. I've done that in my entire career as an attorney. I've done that my entire political career as a mayor and a trustee. I've done it as a law chair of the Democratic Party. I've also done it as a commissioner of Long Island State Parks. I'm about results, not the process. And I always deliver the results that our citizens need so their lives can be better. Carrié is right. It is a noble cause to be an elected official. And we need to get people down there who actually know how to navigate politics. I know Washington. I know the players. I will deliver for the families of this district. And I will deliver better than anyone else in this race. And we will definitely make sure we keep this seat blue, because that is what is necessary for our families in this district to continue to succeed and to remain safe. And I do appreciate your time again. Thank you for having us.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you. Carrié Solages, Keith Corbett, Dr. Huq, we appreciate your joining us this evening. Steve, as usual, a pleasure. Good job with the timekeeping. And as we leave you this evening, please remember, do vote in the primary on August 23rd, because it's important and it's your job as a citizen.
And thank you to Schneps. We appreciate everything.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well,
And
thanks to you guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye
Bye.
bye.